You're listening to the Nest Podcast. Catch the Facebook Live recording every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on spoti.fi. Enjoy the show.
What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Nest Podcast. This is episode number 85. Can you believe it? The Antonio Gates episode presented by Sportszilla. I'm your host, Brandon. Joining me are my co-hosts, Zach and Justin. Fellas, what is going on?
How you doing?
What's up? I just knew you was going to say Ocho Cinco there.
No, man. I mean, Ocho Cinco's the shit, and I probably dropped the ball on that one, but I went with the best player to ever wear the number, not the most flamboyant.
I agree.
And, you know, we're at 85, guys. I don't know what we're going to do when we hit 100.
I don't know.
Where do we go from there? I don't know anybody that's worn triple digits. Maybe that'll be the Wilt Chamberlain episode, and then after that, we got nothing.
We'll have to go into like the league of the high schoolers that are really good that go before they go to college. They all wear triple digits. So we're going to start using like Bronny and all these upcoming players or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not doing that much research.
I can help you with that.
Man, it's been a wild week in sports. And that's saying something considering that sports have been closed for the past, 2-3 weeks now. We haven't seen any live action. We haven't had any spring training games that we can talk about. Yet we're going to once again be able to deliver a full podcast full of sports news. And kicking it off, I want to take it back all the way to last football season. I want to take it back to specifically when James Devlin got injured for the New England Patriots. And I said then that the New England Patriots offense was going to start to slow down, and you're not going to be able to see the type of offense that they normally put up. That happened. Whenever the Patriots made the playoffs and they were going heads up against the Tennessee Titans, I said, the Tennessee Titans are going to be a tough team to play. They might actually sneak up and beat the Patriots. It happened. And then I said, Tom Brady won't be back in New England next year. And a lot of people laughed at it. A lot of people didn't think that that was ever going to happen. But guess what? This past week, Tom Brady left the New England Patriots and he joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC South. Did you guys see that coming? Did you see him joining the Bucs?
No, not until last week when we kind of talked about it. Before then, I didn't see that at all.
Yeah, I didn't either. Me being an NFC South guy, you figured that would have been on my radar, and it not once was on my radar this whole time.
It only was until they decided to cut Winston or not bring back Winston that I was like, uh-oh. They did that for a reason, and they already knew that Tom Brady was coming down to jump ship, so to say. But now you got the Brady Bucks, and they're ready to roll, I guess. The only thing that didn't come to fruition and what I was rambling about last week was Teddy Bridgewater didn't end up going to New England. He instead stayed there in the NFC South and went to the Carolina Panthers. So all of a sudden, the NFC South is loaded at the quarterback position, and it looks like that might be one of the most exciting divisions to keep an eye on if the NFL season actually happens.
Yeah,
it always has been, guys. I've been trying to tell you every year it's the only division, whether we're good or we're bad, that comes down to the last game. It's not like for years the Patriots are playing the Dolphins and these crappy teams. The NFC South is always competitive. Just like when you seen the first team make a move in this free agency, every team made a move. They all reloaded. They all try to stay competitive with each other, and now it's just going to be even more difficult. Granted, if it was me, I would prefer to have Winston over Brady today. Just because, granted, the guy threw 30-some interceptions. The guy's still young. He obviously can throw the ball downfield. He had just as many touchdowns. And if he didn't throw those interceptions, he was balling.
Right. And he did get LASIK surgery this offseason, so that could potentially help his interceptions. And he's obviously got a lot more longevity than Tom Brady does. But I can see why an organization like the Bucs would go after that. They don't have a big fan base. They don't have much noise at the moment other than Jameis Winston. So getting a big veteran like that could potentially make a big spark for at least the fan base, if not all NFL fans, to pay attention to the Buccaneers.
Mm-hmm.
From Tom Brady's perspective, why do you think that he wanted to join the Bucs and go down into the NFC South? You know, that puts it the first division to ever have 3 50,000-yard quarterbacks at the same time. You got it, Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, and Tom Brady now just all chilling.
I think a big one is got to be the numbers matched up. They were willing to give him what he wanted, and I think that was his number one priority.
Yeah, I think too. Bruce Arians his coaching style is a lot like Belichick. He's going to let Brady run his team, and those young receivers they have, he's going to have bodies to throw to, which he's not used to having in New England. Granted, he's got Edelman and a couple of those guys, but he's going to have a little bit more weapons in Tampa Bay, believe it or not. Even though we don't hear about them, they're young, upcoming group, and I think they're going to be legit over the next few years.
Yeah, Harvey hit the nail on the head. A beast receiving core there in Tampa Bay. You've got Godwin, who, for all the jokes that have been going around about him saying that, you know, Tom can't get number 12, you know he's going to give it up. He's a talent on the offensive side of the field, and I'm sure Tom Brady's excited to get to throw him the ball. And then you got Mike Evans, who's put up a stellar career with Winston pretty much as his primary quarterback. And that's something that not a lot of guys could say. And then they've got tight ends, and Tom Brady loves throwing to some tight ends.
Oh, yeah. And Evans is like Gronk's body style, just a heck of a lot faster. I mean, he should be in heaven with that. It's going to be insane. But like you said, the NFC South is loaded. They're not going to walk. He's not going to walk through the division like he did in the AFC. It's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely right about that. It's going to be much more competitive. I think another contributing factor as to why Brady wanted to leave New England in the first place, it may have had something to do with butting heads with Bill, or, you know, somewhere along the way they had some kind of drama. But I think what really was the driving force is he could not stand that Peyton Manning won a ring for 2 different teams. And Tom Brady wants to go win a ring for another team just so that Peyton can't ever say he has one up on him.
Yeah, and so everyone can stop saying that he's a system quarterback and it was Belichick and this and that and the other. I could see that too.
But why would you choose Tampa Bay to do that? I mean, no offense, Tampa Bay shits the bed every year. It doesn't matter who they got. Like, why would you choose to go there if you wanted to win a ring?
And that's why I said his number one priority was the money.
It had to
number
be,
2 or number 3 might be, let's try to win a ring with another team.
He ended up with a 2-year, $50 million contract, fully guaranteed. So it's one of those things. He did get paid, and that was a big deal for him, I guess. But to you guys' point, he's got a team that he has a potential with. I mean, do any of you think that the Buccaneers are a laughing stock at this point? No. You think that they're probably going to be a good team. So
I think they'll be a 500 team or better. They'll have a chance to push for that wild card spot. I don't think they're going to win the NFC, anything like that.
No.
But they'll have a chance to get in there this year.
Yeah.
Justin, I know talking about the NFC South, you're itching to get some information out there, and you're ready to shake and let us know what the Dirty Birds are going to do.
Yeah, first of all, last week or even the week before, you remember how disgusted I was with them cutting Freeman, letting Trufant go, letting Hooper go. I mean, I didn't know what in the hell was going on. Like, I didn't and then they let Beasley go, which was our number 3 pick, just a few years back. Then all of a sudden they bring in Fowler. which had 9 more sacks than Beasley. So I'm like, okay, good start. And then they bring in another first round pick in Hurst as tight end, which is a better tight end than Hooper all the way around. And then I was a little happy. And then all of a sudden we got the news that Todd Gurley, which I called as soon as he was released. The second he was released, I said he'll go to Atlanta because they tried to get him when he came out of college. We got Gurley. Man, Jesus Christ, dude. I'm over the moon right now. If Todd Gurley can stay healthy, the only thing we have to shore up at this point is we lost Trufant, which is our number one corner. We have to get safety corner help. We've got Deion Jones, which is arguably the number one linebacker in the NFL, and is still young. He's a monster. Our offensive line, our offense is full of number one picks now, first round picks. I think I read like 10 out of our 11 players are first round picks now, which is crazy. Our offense is great, stacked. They brought in Latrell Treadwell. I hope I'm saying that right. They brought him in because, as we seen last year, why am I drawing a blank? The other receiver from Alabama. Wow.
Couldn't say.
Yes, he's a stud. Not Julio, but the second guy.
Robin Ridley?
Ridley. God, I don't know why I was drawing a blank. Ridley didn't do as good as a number 2. When they got rid of Sanu, that locked Ridley up a little bit. He is a inside receiver. He's a slot guy. They brought Treadwell in to stretch the field with Julio. Ridley will eat it up next year in fantasy football. Mark my words right now, Ridley will be the stud he was 2 years ago. And like I said, if we get some help in the backside of defense, dude, I'm excited for Atlanta Falcons this year.
I mean, that definitely looks like somewhere where the Falcons will be drafting is on the defensive side of the ball, specifically in the secondary. You've got a lot of good young cornerbacks and safeties coming up in this draft from, various schools. Alabama always puts up a few. Ohio State's got a couple coming out. So watch for the Falcons to try to draft heavy on the defensive side of the ball.
Oh, yeah, they will. And you said it, Austin. It's Gurley time, baby. I don't think his knee, I mean, I know he's got knee issues, but Atlanta's always ran that 1-2 punch running back. They've never really had, since Michael Turner, they've never had a stud that they rolled with. Like even with Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman. Devontae Freeman was obviously our 1A guy, but it was 50-50. So they're going to find ways to keep him on and off the field when he's needed, and I just see him flourishing with the Falcons, man.
Yeah, I think splitting the workload for running backs is a good way to make your starter not have a bigger chance of getting hurt. Because if he has to carry 30 carries a game, that's just way more chances for him to get hurt. And if you split the load a little bit, he might be able to survive a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Justin, let me ask you, the Falcons, they're pretty much the constant in this division. That they've kept the same quarterback. Of course, Breeze is still in New Orleans, and they know him pretty well. But Teddy Bridgewater from his time in New Orleans. And everybody's played Tom Brady at least 52 times because he's been around since Jesus Christ was alive. So do you think the familiarity with all of these opposing quarterbacks is actually a plus or an advantage for the Atlanta Falcons and their defense?
Well, when it comes to Tampa Bay, we normally walk over Tampa Bay every year. That's that one team, kind of like the Browns have been in their division. We have an issue with Brady, as we've seen in the damn Super Bowl. We've always had an issue with Tom Brady. That worries me a little bit. Cam Newton being gone is great in my book. Cam Newton's had our number. We normally would split with him, but Cam Newton had our number. And the Saints, I don't care how bad we are. I don't care how bad the Saints are. We're going to split. It happens almost every single year. I was a season ticket holder for, I guess, around 4 years. In all 4 years, the Falcons and the Saints split. It's always going to happen. It's just that rivalry. We know each other so well. I don't care who's on the field. It's going to be a split. I think it helps when you have a quarterback that you see year in and year out. You can kind of pick them apart and kind of what they're going to do. However, I got to be honest. I like having an old Brady and Cam Newton gone over what we had in the past. I think now it's going to be not easier per se. And you sent me who we play this year, and Dak Prescott was the only one where I was like, okay, I feel comfortable about that one. I mean, we honestly play every tough quarterback in the NFL this year.
Yeah, you guys play Rodgers, of course, Brady twice, Breeze twice, Bridgewater twice. I forget who else was on the list, but pretty much every big name out there plays the Falcons at some point.
Yeah, and so that's why we need to get help on defense. We can score with the best of them. We're going to put up 20, 30, 40 points a game like we always have, but we've got to be able to shut some teams down. We get ate up in passing every year. It don't matter. We can have 10 sacks, 11 sacks a game, and we still lose because we have no secondary help.
Well, and you mentioned that you have trouble with passing. Harvey's blowing up the comments, letting us know that the Saints got a number 2 guy. They brought in Emmanuel Sanders. So now you've got to deal with Michael Thomas on one side, Emmanuel Sanders on the other. Plus, where are they going to put in Taysom Hill? That kid will go out there in the slot and be a receiver and then drop back for a pass the next play. They throw a wild offense at you. So the Falcons defense has a lot of work they're going to have to do this season.
Yeah, that I would take the over or under for that Falcons Saints game around 80 this year. It's going to be a freaking shootout. Every game, it's just going to be. I mean, the weapons on both sides are. I mean, you got to. I would say personally, and I'm a little bit biased, I would take Ridley Julio over any other duo in the NFC South. But it's going to be a shootout, man. It's going to be a lot of points scored and not much defense, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it kind of seems like that's the way the NFL is going too. The Chiefs are almost the same way. They don't rely on their defense ever. They rely solely on their young, talented offense to score enough points to make it so that the other team can't outscore them.
Yeah. And that worked all the way up to the Super Bowl. I mean, we were stomping the shit out of Brady and them. But then again, they ended up stopping us and we couldn't stop them. So,
yep. And then, of course, the rest is history. I don't think I need to mention what happened in the fourth quarter in that game.
That'll be the last time we talk about it.
Yep.
Hey, but this right here, Brady leaving the Patriots and all that stuff, it's going to show you who's a Tom Brady fan and who's a New England Patriots fan. Because now all of a sudden you've got a bunch of people that are jumping ships literally to now go cheer for the Tampa Bay Bucks because of Tom Brady. It's the same thing with the LeBron fans. They followed him from Cleveland to Miami, back to Cleveland, now over to LA. So it is what it is. Chris, he's commenting now. He's the only Tampa Bay Bucks fan that I actually know that's been a Tampa Bay Bucks fan for as long as I've known him. He's dealt with the shitty times, and I think he's pretty much here for the Tom Brady love fest. I think now all of a sudden he loves the guy. So whatever.
I'm here. Hey, I feel for the guy. I'm a Falcons fan. My dad passed away with 0 Super Bowl wins. We still have 0 Super Bowl wins. I feel you, brother. Stay with your team because when they win, it's going to be great.
At least Tampa has the one win way back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, they're one ahead of us. So stay with them, man. Let everybody jump on the ship and let everybody know who the true fans are. I don't care for that bandwagon stuff. I don't care for it at all.
So other than the NFC South, there has been a lot of other moving and shaking around the NFL. Most notably at the quarterback position. Phillip Rivers has a new home. He settled in Indianapolis. A lot of people were thinking that he was going to be the target of the Tampa Bay Bucks. But Indianapolis, how's that going to work out for Phillip?
Go ahead.
That's fitting, dude. I mean, it's very similar to where he come from.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say it's basically the same offense.
It's the same thing
in a
with
dome.
different jersey. Yeah. I mean, look who they had before. They had Peyton, and then they had Luck. I mean, he's stepping right into a situation that he's very familiar with. And granted, Rivers didn't have the best of year last year. I like Rivers a lot. he don't get talked about like some of these other guys, but he's always up there in numbers. He's always consistent. You know what you're going to get from the guy. And I think that was a good move for him. I think out of a lot of the players that have been moving around, I think Rivers found a good home that he will be at for the next few years until he retires.
I think you're right. I think this is the second and last stop on the Phillip Rivers tour. I think that he'll retire with the Colts. And like you, I think he'll do okay. And, hate to keep beating the same drum, but an AFC without Tom Brady makes it a much easier path for someone like Phillip Rivers, who's always had that big obstacle and that big roadblock in his way. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Big Ben, those AFC quarterbacks they've pretty much dominated the past 20 years. So Phillip Rivers might finally get his time to shine. But there's been even more movement going on. We've got Marcus Mariota and Jason Witten joining the Las Vegas Raiders. I guess they're trying to turn back the hands of time with Witten and with Mariota. Maybe they can get that spark that he had whenever he was out on the West Coast before he went to Tennessee. I think that's a big gamble for them, though.
Yeah, 100%.
It is Las Vegas, right?
I was going to say it's fitting that it's Las Vegas and they took a big gamble, but I don't see that really working out for him. I don't think Mariota's any bit of an upgrade over Carr, and Carr's garbage. So
yeah, I mean, Mariota's had his moments. I'm happy for Jason. I know he wanted to try to go somewhere else eventually. I was hoping it would be Atlanta. That was kind of always my dream, that he would finish in Atlanta and get us that ring, kind of like Tony G almost did. I'm happy for Jason, his family. I know he's thrilled he didn't have to move too far. I mean, Dallas and Las Vegas ain't a crazy far away. I mean, it's going to be weird to see him in that black and gold, man. I don't know. Or the black and silver.
Black and silver, yeah.
It's going to be weird.
It certainly will, but you know what? I think he's a guy that will try to fit into that offense, and he'll try to make it work. And he's going to give it all every week because that's what he does. He's the future Hall of Famer for a reason.
The big thing with Jason is his mentality, his work ethic. He's going to be the locker room guy that I think the Raiders have needed for a long time. He's going to be that veteran that's going to come in. He's going to show you how to work. He's going to teach you how to watch film or do that. And he's got that no nonsense mentality to him. They need that. That's something they haven't had in a long time.
I think he'll enjoy working with a smart coach in John Gruden instead of having to deal with old Jason Garrett again. So that'll be nice for him to have an actual, intelligent person running the playbook.
It's hard to downgrade there when it comes to coaching.
Yeah.
Now, we also saw that Nick Foles got dealt from the Jacksonville Jags, and what might be one of the ultimate worst deals of all time when you look at it, because Nick Foles came to Jacksonville and got paid $30.5 million to play 4 games and win 0 games. Oh yeah, and he's still an $18.75 million cap hit this year.
Jesus.
Ouch.
That's crazy.
And all they got in return is a 4th round draft pick. But Minshew Mania is in Jacksonville to stay, apparently.
Locker room talk, start pumping out the shirts.
Oh yeah, they're excited about it. I know Wallow's already announced it on Locker Room Talk this past weekend, and they're Minshew guys. They're all about this kid. So you know what?
He's the truth, dude.
Yeah, go for it, man. Embrace it. Embrace the weird that is Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
I know Foles is like the coronavirus in the NFL. He's just like taking out teams everywhere he goes. But we got a good point here in the questions. A good question. Where do you think Winston will go?
That is a good question.
You think he could be a Pat?
I don't know, man. Out of the 2 quarterbacks that are available, I think Cam Newton has a better shot to be in New England, but I don't think either one will be. I think one of them is going to end up in Cincinnati. That's a team they've moved on from Andy Dalton, and they need somebody to come in and fling the football. I would be excited to see a Winston and AJ Green combination and see how that pairing would work.
Yeah. Chargers need somebody too.
and the Chargers. I think that's where the other one will end up. Whichever one goes to Cincinnati, the other will go to the Chargers. And that's basically how I see it fitting. I think both guys will probably get picked up on. Well, Cam would have to be traded.
Mhm.
So that is what it is. I don't know what assets the Bengals or the Chargers have that they would be willing to give up to get Cam Newton, but Winston, I think, signs just a 1 or 2 year deal. I don't think it's a long-term investment. I think it's a short thing where they're going to sign him and then look to still yet draft a quarterback in the next year or two.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how Winston does this year. If he's telling the truth and without his interceptions, he'd be balling, then maybe he can actually produce. I mean, maybe after all this time, it really was his bad vision, and he somehow was able to get the ball to a receiver for a touchdown every now and then, and that equaled up to his 30 touchdowns. But on the same hand, if it wasn't a touchdown, it was an interception. So the proof is in the pudding once this whole season kind of wraps up and we get to see what he actually accomplished
It's a possibility.
with his fixed eyes. So we'll see.
Do you think Cam Newton could actually play in a Bill Belichick offense?
I think the only reason that I think that is because Bill has said that he wants a more athletic type quarterback for his next, the next leader of his team or whatever. And Cam Newton fits the bill as far as the athlete. Where he loses me is he's too much of an individual to really embrace the Patriot way. So as far as an on-field talent, I think he could. But as far as his locker room personality and his just personality in general, I don't think it meshes with the New England Patriots.
Yeah. And I think Bill kind of sees where the league is going in that mobile quarterback type league. That's where the winners are now. And for 20 years, they had the best pocket passer and they won with that. So they're not going to just lay over and die because Tom Brady is gone. Bill Belichick still wants to win and be competitive. So this is his answer to that. And who knows what they're going to go for. I don't think that they're going to pick anyone up like that. I think they're just going to roll with whoever this year and try to get a good draft pick.
I think so too. I think Jarrett Stidham is the man that's going to take the ball. And they just moved Brian Hoyer back to New England for his 3rd tour of duty. So he's a guy that's going to basically serve as a mentor to teach Stidham the system, the way that the Patriots do things. He's just there to have that kid under his wing, so to say, and he'll be good at that job. Hoyer's a guy that's been around the league. He's won a ring as a backup for Tom Brady. He was with the Colts last season and then came back to New England for this one. So he's just looking for a place where he can continue his career and keep making $1 million a year and not have to go and work a bullshit job.
Right. Yeah. Can't blame the guy.
Not at all.
It's going to be weird though to see him in a Patriots uniform. That's got to be the weirdest. Like Brady looked weird in a Bucs uniform, I guess, because he's been with the Patriots. But Cam's going to look even weirder wearing that Patriots uniform if that does ever happen.
And I like I said, I don't think that it does. But you asked if I thought that he would fit, and I guess he kind of would. But I don't think he's going there. Like I said, I think he's going probably Cincinnati is my best bet for Cam, and I think Winston's probably going West Coast.
I think so too.
So let's see what else has happened in the NFL. You guys think of anything else?
Well, PJ is now backing up Bridgewater, which we kind of called that PJ would be that one guy in the XFL that would come up.
Oh, and it happened fast too.
Yeah.
I think that's a great spot. I mean, we saw what PJ could do in the pocket, man. It wasn't a fluke. The way he moved, kept his head downfield. He's going to play even as the backup. They'll find packages and ways to get him involved early and often, I believe. And it's going to, I don't know, man, it's going to be nasty. If they figure it out the way that I would if I was a coach, that has the potential to be dangerous having both of them on the field.
Yeah, I agree. They could definitely run a pretty unique offense, and then you put CMC in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The thing I thought immediately when I saw that the Panthers picked up, or not the Panther, the who picked him up?
Panthers.
Right? Yeah. I thought immediately that they don't fully trust Teddy Bridgewater, which I guess I understand, but at the same time, why would you go after him then? I mean, he was a free agent. It's not like they got him on a on a good trade or something. So I don't understand necessarily why they would go after both of them, other than they're just going to let them duke it out, I guess, maybe, and see who can come out on top. If Teddy Bridgewater is the truth, then he'll prove it. And if not, they've got this potential good pickup from the XFL. But I immediately thought that they must not trust Teddy Bridgewater fully.
Yeah, and that kind of came to mind for me as well. It did seem a little bit like a suspect move, but it just tells me that they are not sold on Kyle Allen at all, and that they are ready to move on from him just as fast as they were ready to move on from Cam. So I don't take it as a slight to Teddy. I take it more as a slight to Kyle Allen now. I think he's probably one of those guys that's going to be like, well, shit, now I'm out of the league because nobody wanted me.
Hey, now I can go to the XFL.
Yep.
He might take PJ Walker's job in the XFL.
Yep.
Here's my thought. I think they did it because they wanted to bring competition to the offseason. I think Bridgewater's their guy. They want to push Bridgewater. They don't want him to think that he's the go-to guy right off the bat. I mean, he's been a backup, and we saw what he can do as a backup. He came in and he played fantastic, knowing that that was his role. They don't want him to switch thinking he's comfortable, for one thing. Secondly, I mean, let's face it, I don't know the details. They probably didn't have to pay PJ hardly anything coming from the XFL.
Right.
So that's something inexpensive that's going to just help the team, whether Bridgewater gets hurt or he pushes him during camp. So I think it's a great move. I don't think it's a move to say, hey, this might be our next quarterback. I think they have other uses for PJ.
They paid Teddy Bridgewater $63 million over 3 years. That's $21 million a year. He's their guy. He's their starter. PJ might come along and be some kind of trade bait along the way.
Yeah, that's not
for a team that needs a quarterback.
Yeah,
look at the Bears. They're sitting there with Nick Foles and Trubisky now.
Trubisky,
you think that's really the group of quarterbacks that you want going forward if you're going to have a contender? Probably not.
Yeah,
you got to think Nick Foles will take that job. As bad as they both are, Nick Foles has got to be better than Trubisky. Trubisky's one of the worst starting quarterbacks I've seen in forever, and somehow he's still a starting quarterback. I don't understand it.
And to think the Bears passed on fucking Mahomes.
Yeah,
that's got to be the worst move ever.
Yeah, you know, our boy Jose is kicking himself right now because he's like, they're right.
Just after the Bears fans get over the Jay Cutler wounds, this comes and bites him in the ass yet again.
Yep. Hey, it just goes to show that if you don't draft right, it all falls apart. So like Tom Brady leaving New England, that leaves them, they had Jarrett Stidham. If they didn't draft right, they could be another team just like the Bears where they have a quarterback that sucks. You have a grade A top tier defense and a prized ass quarterback.
Yep. Let's face it, they never draft a quarterback right. They're like, oh, this guy's 6'4", he's the prototypical, or what? I know I said that wrong, but he's the ideal quarterback for the NFL. He stands in the pocket. It's always that guy that like goes crazy. Other than Tebow. Tebow was an example where he is a god in college, and he obviously wasn't meant for the NFL. But it's usually that guy that's showing you stuff like Mahomes that's going to be the next guy. But for some reason, NFL scouts always they'll take that guy that was like, won 5 games. They're like, oh, but my God, his arm, the way he stands in the pocket. I hate that shit, dude. Give me the guy in the SEC that won 12 games this year and made it to the championship. I mean, obviously he's a leader and he's going to get you there.
Is he though? I mean, look at the track record of all those guys in the NFL.
A better chance than somebody like Trubisky that stands tall.
That's fair.
Andrew Luck, who was out of the league in 5 years.
See,
Now he was well. Anyway,
and to Zach's point, like a lot of these guys that come through Alabama and come through Georgia, and then they hit the NFL and they fall flat. That's why I'm so high on Jalen Hurts. That dude, he was a winner in the SEC, and then he went over to Oklahoma and was a winner too. So he's proven that he can play different styles of football. He can win with different teams and different attacks. And that's the type guy that I think is going to translate well to an NFL roster. And I really hope that he's drafted in New England, because if you remember back, I don't know, last November, I was calling for him. I was saying I want him to be the next quarterback in New England.
I agree. I think Hurts is definitely going to translate. He's a winner. That's what he is,
That's
and
it.
he's built like a. I mean, he's not a small guy. I mean, it's not like just he's a one-trick pony. The kid can run. The kid can throw the ball. He went from a terrible situation in which he lost his job after winning them a national title. Basically, him getting hurt that time is what lost his job.
pretty much.
And I would take him over our boy right now in the draft.
Yeah, I would take Hurts. I know he's going to fall into at least the second round, but I would snatch him up very quickly in that second round. I wouldn't push to get him in the first, because I think that's overshooting for some of the other talent that's out there that you could fill around him. But God, if he's there in the second round when it comes to your pick and you skip him, you're going to regret it.
Yep. I wish we had a Jamie, because I would love to know the last quarterback to win a BCS or playoff championship in college and to also go on and win a Super Bowl, because I bet you have to go pretty far back.
Well, the BCS only goes back to 1998. So,
well, I mean, you know what I mean?
Not the BCS, but the national title.
Right.
So
who won it that year?
I believe it was that team that wears orange and white from Rocky Top.
The team that Peyton Manning was the man, and then they won it the next year with T. Martin.
Yep. The year after Manning graduated, they go on an undefeated tear and win the national title.
That's crazy.
Rude.
Yep.
Sorry, I heard 1998. I had to throw that in.
Oh, I know. That's why I said it like that. So, guys, bad news. Opening day is supposed to be this Thursday. We're supposed to be watching Baseball That Matters this week. Unfortunately, that's still not going to happen. The coronavirus has completely wiped baseball off the map for what many people are saying until Memorial Day or later. We've got minor leaguers that have tested positive for the coronavirus, 2 with the Yankees farm system, and a Reds employee that was at the Arizona spring training complex also tested positive. So it's in both spring trainings. They've sent all the players home. It's this thing is not going to happen for a while. How bummed are you, Zach, that it's fallen apart? And we waited all off season long. We were getting there. We got to see a few spring training games, but now nothing.
Yeah, very, very disappointing. And what sucks too is I think this year is going to be a wash for a lot of teams that had potential, because down the stretch in July and in August, when it's hot as shit, they're going to have to play doubleheaders damn near every day to make up for it. Because like you said, they're not going to be able to play into the winter like I kind of thought we were. They're outdoor stadiums. You cannot play outdoors in New York in November, December. It's just way too goddamn cold. And plus, baseball calls off games for bad weather anyway. They're not just going to play through the snow or something like that. So those teams that had a chance, I think, are going to be very they're going to feel it for sure. Doubleheaders are going to be rough on guys, and they're going to get tired very quickly. So this is a bad year for baseball in general. I mean, our season is going to get washed over by, if not the coronavirus, it's going to be washed over by NFL and everything else once that comes on, because people are normally watching baseball in the summer, and that's the only sport they have to watch. But if this gets pushed off, people aren't going to care. People have already probably lost interest because it hasn't kicked off. So it really sucks.
And I've been hearing a lot of people out there giving different suggestions on what they want to see and if they do even have the season this year. A lot of people are kicking around like, oh, let's just have an 81 game season, cut it in half, cut the division matchups and all that stuff in half, and just play 81 games and determine your winner. Other people are thinking that you have to have at least 100 games to really decide the division. Some notable talking heads around on ESPN and other networks have said things like they should just skip the All-Star break in altogether. Don't even have it this year and just play straight through until September, October timeframe. Maybe it shifts the schedule back a little bit, but not as drastic as November, December. And you would play 8 games per 6-day weeks. Every team would have Mondays off. And then you would play 8 games between Tuesday and Sunday. You would play double headers on Wednesday and Saturday. The catch would be you played the same 8 teams, or 8 games would be the same team.
Yeah.
8 days in a row or whatever, 8 games in a row. To me, that's not a good idea because that makes for a very stale product for the fans in attendance. They're already harping on, ticket sales and all that stuff are going to be impacted and all that. If you put teams like the Baltimore Orioles and the Tampa Bay Rays together for 8 straight games, you might as well just call that a wash. No one's going to come to that game. Yep. No one cares to go watch that. Now, you would get some captivating TV. You would get some captivating games. Like, I'm all for Yankees Red Sox 8 days in a row. Love it. I'm all for watching Cardinals Cubs. A lot of these guys that I would love to see Dodgers and Rockies because I think that would be a fun series. But you're not going to get that for every matchup, every team, and you're going to have a lot of stinkers, and that's not going to work. Another suggestion, and Zach, I'm kind of curious to hear your opinion on this one. I heard that I think it was somebody from Barstool threw out that they should just, as soon as the season starts, whether it be Memorial Day, 4th of July, whatever it is, that they should just do a double elimination style tournament where you figure out how many best of games you need to have, and you just start the playoffs as soon as the season starts. Everybody's in it. The only 2 teams that get a bye, because there are 30 teams and 2 teams would end up with a bye, would be the Nationals and the Astros because they were in last year's World Series. Everybody else, fair shot.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds great, maybe, but there's no way. There's no way MLB is going to go for that, or the Players Association is going to go for that. And I don't know if it would even work because the shit teams are automatically out anyway. I mean, it's an interesting idea, I guess. It's just one of those things that you throw around and no one ever really takes it seriously.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. It would suck to be a fan of somebody, say the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they lose the first 2 series back to back, and now your season's over.
Yeah.
And all you've played was what? 10 games, 12 games at that, boom, season's over. No more baseball for the rest of the year. Better luck in 2021. Yep. That would suck, but it would make for a pretty interesting setup because then you could have some of these teams that don't belong somehow make it into a World Series type game.
Right.
Coming from a fan of, I watch baseball now, but coming from somebody like me, that'd be like the NCAA tournament. Like you'd have that underdog mentality. The only thing is like you would have to play some games because how in the hell would you get the seeding?
Yeah, and that's the thing is it would probably just be randomly seeded or, like you said, you need to play some games. But with baseball, you have to play more than just like 10 or 15 games to get anything because that's why a lot of people are saying that it needs to be 100 games for the season. because you have to have that good sample size to really weed out who's better.
Right. I mean, some pitchers don't even get comfortable until they've had several starts under their belt, and they have to get a feel for how their pitches are going this year and what their arm feels like and stuff like that. So there's a bit of a reason as to why the season is so long. One is because that's just the way it is, and baseball is I don't know why the word is escaping me. Anyway, there's certain things that occur in a baseball season that wouldn't otherwise equate to the same kind of thing in a different sport. Like a quarterback doesn't necessarily need a long time to figure out how he's going to throw the ball this year, but with a pitcher, he's got very specific things that he has to do in his mechanics to make a curveball drop or whatever it might be. And you might not be comfortable with that until a few starts, because let's face it, if you're a starting pitcher on a big league team, you probably don't pitch very much in spring training. So you got to get those games in to feel comfortable.
Yeah, get that feel, that perfect release point, and you've got to build up that arm stamina. You can't just come out there first game and throw 100 and last for 7 innings. Yep. It just doesn't work like that. To your point, a quarterback can pretty much show up at training camp and throw the football 40, 50 yards down the field, and it's like, okay, I'm back, baby.
Sure. And by that point, they've already gone through their summer camps and stuff like that. So any little rust they've already knocked off.
Right. Another interesting take on all this was Joe Madden, the new skipper for the Angels. He came out and he was like, look, we're not going to play 162 this year. We'll be lucky if we squeeze in 100. That's why we should just go ahead and use this as the perfect time to test out some of the new stuff. Let the players be mic'd up. Speed it up to a 20-second pitch clock. You know, everyone's already going to put an asterisk beside this season anyway. Like, oh, if we played the full season, our team would have been better. We got better hot, and then, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, that people are going to have excuses for why their team doesn't win this year. Mm-hmm. Oh, the coronavirus affected us, blah, 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 whatever. To Madden's point, why not test out some of these other things and give us some excitement? That's what's going to draw fans back. You know, Zach, you were talking earlier, like it's going to be detrimental whenever NFL starts because baseball season will still be kind of fumbled, so to say. At least by doing this, maybe you'll get to hear Mookie Betts talking about being in LA, or you'll get to hear, you know, some of the guys talking shit to each other at first base or whatever. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a way to make it a little more exciting.
Yeah, I'm on 100% behind that. I think this is a perfect year to roll out any of those little things that they wanted to. Hell, they can even start trying to do the robot ump too if they want.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, this is, like you said, this is almost a wash year because teams don't have the time that they normally would have. And like you said, someone's going to bitch about something or the other. And we might see some weird team come out of nowhere and win the World Series this year just because of that. If you get hot at the end and you were shit in the beginning of the year, it doesn't really matter because that was probably 2-3 months ago.
Yeah, this could be the Cincinnati Reds' best opportunity to win a World Series.
Right. And just like we were saying, people are almost already checked out and just go ahead and looking forward to football because this summer has almost been just a write-off because of the coronavirus. And if you can do something exciting to try to bring people in to watch baseball, you do it. You got to do it. As a league, you have to do something to try to grow the fan base.
No, I don't know if you guys heard, but right before we came on air, President Trump was on talking about COVID-19, and they believe that they found a cure, which is part of a malaria medicine and a Z-Pack that they're going to start sending out to New York. They're going to put 10,000 out in New York as a trial. If this is the case and this is a cure, you guys might see baseball sooner than we all think. Like this was just on live, like literally right before I came on.
Nice.
If it's doxycycline, all of my military vets out there are sitting there shaking their heads saying, no, I don't want those dreams.
I don't know what it is. And like I said, I was literally, I listened to what he had to say, and then somebody else came up to talk, and then I came and signed on the podcast. So I think it's a shot. The Olympics still hasn't called off the Olympics yet.
Yes, they have.
Yeah.
They announced it
Did they
today.
finally?
Yep.
Oh man,
Yep.
I knew it was coming, but I was
Yep.
thinking that was the reason why they were kind of waiting.
They announced today that it's postponed to 2021, which breaks the 4-year cycle for the first time ever in the Olympics or whatever.
Wow.
Jesus, man.
Yeah. Pretty big deal. You know, I do want to kind of praise some of the MLB teams a little bit. You know, across the league, we've seen individual players from multiple sports donating their money, and we talked about last week how it would be better if the teams got involved and taking care of these people. Each MLB team has pledged $1 million to pay the ballpark employees while they're shut down.
That's cool.
So all of those guys that work in stadiums, the peanut guys, the beer vendors, the ticket collectors, the security, blah, 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 they're all getting paid. So that's great news. They also announced that they're going to pay all of the minor leaguers as well, taking care of all these kids that basically pay their own travel bills to get to spring training. And then they were left there like, okay, season's not going on now. See you later. Go home. They either offered to pay for their rent in the spring training town or to pay for their transportation back home. That's pretty cool. They're also still collecting their paychecks.
Yeah.
Can't beat
awesome.
that.
And that's crucial for those minor leaguers. They
Absolutely.
don't live lavishly.
No, they really don't. They live paycheck to paycheck, much like most of us. And in the off season, they usually have to have another job. Stone Garrett, dude that plays here locally for the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, at least he did last year. I think he got promoted to the New Orleans Baby Cakes. But
Oh goodness.
when he was in Jacksonville, not playing baseball, he was selling home insurance and real estate. He was doing stuff like that. So he's had his little side hustle going when he's not playing baseball. And most of those guys have to do that because, like you said, they don't live that lavish. And while we're talking baseball, I've got just another bit of more bad news to just keep pouring onto all of this. And that is that Chris Sale is going for Tommy John.
Mm-hmm.
It's been months since he's been out with sore elbow. He got shut down at the end of the 2019 season because of a sore elbow. He had issues in the 2018 season because of a sore elbow. Hell, when he came over from the Chicago White Sox, people were saying he's going to have Tommy John someday. Well, that day is now. Unfortunately, it's a year removed from Sale getting a huge extension to stay with the Red Sox, a year too early, mind you, because he wasn't even ready for free agency when they extended him. So it's just another kick in the nuts from Dave Dombrowski and his wheeling and dealing and loose pocketbooks. But Chris Sale going on the shelf might not be the worst thing if the season is canceled, because he gets that whole year to rehab. And it's basically like, well, you know what? So be it. Nobody's going to throw 30. Nobody's going to pitch in 30 games this year anyway. So if you're going to be out for the whole season, this is a good one to be out for.
Yep.
And I got one final baseball question for you guys. And it's kind of an interesting one. I was thinking about it on my way home from work today. And if this season just doesn't happen, if the 2020 season is just completely canceled and they just, everything's blank, what does that do to the guys' contracts? Guys that are a year away from free agency right now, would they be free agents? Or is that team going to try to get one more year of eligibility? Because guess what? They're all gaining a year of age. So why wouldn't their contract mature with them?
Yeah, that's how I see it.
Well, I can't speak from baseball contracts, but from a regular contract, I would think that they would get another year of eligibility just for the fact that you got to look at the pros and cons. And although one would best fit the player, I mean, I would side with the teams on this because,
Ooh, not me.
see, I'm the opposite way because I feel like, say they pick somebody up for a year. Okay, they
Okay.
basically paid this dude and he's gone.
Let's use Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts was traded to the LA Dodgers for this season. He's a free agent at the end of this year.
See, that's
He was
messed up. Yeah,
he was traded. Why should Mookie have to stay in LA for another year and delay his free agency?
because
when-
he signed a contract to play a year of baseball with this specific team.
He signed a contract that says I'm going to be a baseball player for these amount of years, and then I'm a free agent.
Yep.
It's not his fault that he was traded to the LA Dodgers and they accepted that contract as is and didn't renegotiate or extend him.
Yep. Yeah.
At the end of 2020, he is a free agent.
Yeah. For what it's worth, he had hardly anything to do with his trade to the Dodgers. I mean, if you're not a free agent and you don't request a trade or something like that, and you don't have enough pull to get a trade done, then you're just up to the team to whatever they want to do with you. So in baseball sense, how long is their contract or whatever until they're free agents? 7 years?
7 years. Yep.
Yeah. So for 7 years, you're making whatever they pay you, unless they want to give you some sort of thing to buy out your arbitration. Or if you're a good enough player and you go through arbitration, you can get a good deal for a year. But until you're a free agent, for whatever team you sign with, they can do whatever they want with you. So I agree. Players don't all make $100-200 million, and they definitely don't make it until they are proven and they've been playing in the big leagues for a long time.
See, that makes sense to me. Speaking of Mookie Betts, it don't really make sense, but I guess you can't separate the two. But that does make sense to me when you talk about the ones in arbitration and all that.
Yep. So by keeping them under basically that contract and making it extend a year, you're really fucking the players.
I got you.
Hard.
It's a little different than football.
Yeah. And imagine you've got somebody who is an older player. All right. Say Albert Pujols, for example. He's getting older and all that stuff. That's just making him, a year older until he's done with his contract.
Yep.
Or if he was trying to get another year afterwards, which I know he's not, he's going to finish out and then be done. But if he was trying to play for that other year, like David Ortiz for years for the Red Sox, he would be on 1-year deals. He would just keep getting brought back for 1 year at a time. So if you put a pause in that and all of a sudden he goes from being, 40 years old and now he's 42 years old because you missed that whole year or whatever, a lot of teams are going to be like, well, we don't know if you still got it, old man.
Right.
And now this guy just misses out on millions of dollars because of all this.
Yeah.
It fucks the players.
And those 1-year deals are great for the team too, because then they don't get fucked over by having an old Albert Pujols that doesn't produce and they still have to pay him. If he sucks for a year, great. You paid him his money and it's over with. And
sayonara.
He's gone. Yep.
So Justin, I know you followed the NBA a little bit, and we've seen that's the sport that seems to be most impacted by this coronavirus. It started with Rudy Gobert, and it's spread like wildfire to now even some of the biggest names in the sport are coming down with it. I'm talking about Kevin Durant. He and 3 members of the Brooklyn Nets have tested positive. I know the Brooklyn Nets were playing games against some of the other teams. Who knows if they were, spreading that to them before all this was shut down and all that stuff. But the biggest slay fest of the entire year so far was Russell Westbrook and his comments on Kevin Durant contracting the coronavirus. Did you guys see any of that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Crazy.
For the listeners that don't know what I'm talking about, Westbrook said KD heard that the coronavirus was winning, so he jumped on that team too.
Hilarious.
It's funny, but he'll regret that.
I think you're right. I think he's going to get slayed by a lot of people out there that are talking about, oh, you're being insensitive and all that stuff. But come on, man. Like
It's hilarious. Yeah.
he was the one that most felt the immediate Kevin Durant departure. He was the one that was left to shoulder the entire team on his own. So he's obviously the most bitter about that. And I think it's hilarious that he bodied him up.
Yep. 100%. Westbrook is very salty that Kevin Durant left to go win an easy championship, and he stuck it out and tried to win it the old-fashioned way.
Mm-hmm. I've said it 100 times, dude. If Westbrook, Durant, and Harden were still on that Oklahoma Thunder team, oh my God, dude,
They would never afford it, but
No,
they would have won a few
why they all ended
championships
up leaving.
first.
yeah, they should have won championships when they had them all together. They just, for whatever reason, KD and Westbrook just didn't really gel together as a unit.
I don't
They
think
both wanted the ball.
nobody gels with Westbrook.
Yeah, I was going to say Westbrook seems to be a very hard player to play with.
Yeah.
You know, it is crazy to think about that. You know, the coronavirus outbreak happened during the NBA season, and that's why they were the most impacted and all that stuff. Can you imagine if it had happened during the football season where you have 53-man rosters plus all of the staff that has to travel and be with a team? Like, we're talking easily 100 people per side.
Yeah, it'd have been devastating.
It would have expedited the spread of the virus so much quicker.
Yep.
Not to mention the fans being in a dome where all that air is recirculated.
Yeah, it could have been very, very bad. And you know, that's ultimately why WrestleMania had to close their doors and all that stuff, is because of the fear of spreading it to hundreds of thousands of people, because a lot of people show up for these WrestleMania weekends where they have entire, you know, events every single night, and they pack the house every single night, and people are sitting shoulder to shoulder for hours with each other. So WrestleMania changed their plans, and we talked about it last week that they're going to have to put on a hell of a show just to be entertaining, because they're going to be performing in front of no fans. We found out this week that Rob Gronkowski is going to host the thing. So that's one of their things that they're trying to do, is to bring in a big name celebrity to be the host. They've also announced that they're going to be doing it from multiple locations. Now, I don't quite know what that means, but it is kind of interesting. It makes me scratch my head and think, like, okay, maybe they do have something up their sleeve.
Yeah.
It could also just be a stupid gimmick match too.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It is. Gronk, what a great move. I can't think of a better personality to bring something to TV like that. But the whole different places, I don't know how that's going to work. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I could see them doing some kind of like Undertaker graveyard match or something, some stupid gimmick like that, where it's like, oh, this is our other location.
Mm-hmm.
They're outside in this graveyard.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Out in the back, in the garage, like they used to do.
Yeah, just dumb random shit, you know.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, guys, I'm out of stuff to talk about this week. Do we have any voicemails?
Nope.
Nope, no voicemails. Nobody wanted to drop in their 2-minute warning and give us their take. Guys, for you guys listening out there, we do have the voicemail set up, and we call it the 2-minute warning. Feel free to call us anytime throughout the week that something happens. Your favorite team makes a boneheaded trade and you want to rant about it. When sports actually start back, say your team loses, your team wins, and you want to brag, call us and let us know. We'll play it at the end of our episodes. We like to hear from you. 904-878-5985 is the number. Call any time of the day. Leave that message on there. We like them, and the drunker, the better.
Yeah, I hate that we don't have one. I look forward to this segment.
Yeah, they're good.
I do too. It's one of my favorite parts of the night, is when we get to hear other people just run their mouths about whatever they think is important in the world of sports.
Yep. I do have one to clear the benches.
Okay, clear.
I think I have a piece of advice for Dana White if he hasn't thought of it himself. I think you seriously need to consider finding some sort of weird location for Khabib and Tony. I don't know if you can maybe set it up on a boat in international waters or go up to Antarctica, or maybe Hawaii's not affected by it yet or not or something, but please try to make this fight happen. It's not looking good at the moment. I don't think Vegas is going to allow them to do it, even with no fans. But for the love of God, can we please make this fight happen somehow, some way? I don't care. I just need to see it happen.
And I don't want to be a further downer on that one, Zach, but with all of these countries closing down their borders, it's making it a lot harder for international travel.
Dana White needs to get him a nice yacht, get a film crew on it, and sail out as however far he needs and make it happen.
Dude, Dana White's got like one of the biggest houses in the world. Why not just have it in his backyard? Just Dana White and them two there, and let them go at it.
I don't know. I really like that idea Zach had. Just we've seen college basketball on the deck of a ship. Why not have a UFC fight?
Used to do boxing on those ships all the time.
Yeah, see, there you go. So I like that idea.
It gives like the Navy and those people something to watch
There you
too.
go.
It could be like an all Navy show or something.
Make it free for the Navy. Yeah,
do it
free
on
for the guys
aircraft
on the
carrier.
Navy. I would pay for that. Fuck yeah.
Really. And I think you could really market it for the pay-per-view. Like, hey, support the troops or whatever the hell you want to say. We're doing it on the naval ship. I love it.
10% goes to the troops.
Mm-hmm.
And 10% goes to us for the idea. That's all the time we got. Tune back in next week whenever we'll be talking about whatever else is going on in this wacky world of sports. Guys, thanks for listening. We're out. Peace.
Thanks for listening. The Nest Podcast records live every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Follow the show on iTunes, Podbean, and Spotify. Join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter at The Sportszilla. See you next week.